Hi everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe to the channel.
In this video, I talked to Christina, a young studio owner who completed her master's in architecture from Parsons School of Design, New York. We dive in all things architecture, from her thesis journey to AI in design and building a creative practice in Canada. Ian, how are you?
I'm good.
So, thanks for doing this. So, starting with the first question, what inspired you at first to get into this architecture, interior design?
Honestly, The Sims. Like, I know this is probably like something that lots of people say, or maybe it's an awkward random thing to say, but really it was The Sims. Like The Sims was my first sort of taste of the design world. And I didn't even realize that like you could sort of actualize your creativity in a 3D space. And so that is really what inspired me, like instinctive. I spent more time. And so it was kind of like a natural transition and progression into architecture. I thought I would become an artist. The way that we found our middle ground was doing architecture. It connected my creative instincts and my creative passions with a more technical and professional field. So yeah, architecture was an intuitive.
In a day in the life of a designer or architect?
Sure. So I started my own design practice, my design studio. We do sort of architectural, interior architecture, installation and exhibition scenic design. So like a broad range of design. Wasn't feeling fulfilled in practice. After my master's, I realized, yeah, I need creative liberty. I need a space where I have creative agency. And the work that I was doing, I felt very stifled in practice, and I kind of felt a CAD monkey. I think that's a pretty common phrase everyone knows. You feel like, especially coming from like school, where you have creative agency over your projects, and going into practice where you are sort of given a project and you have to work on it. I felt extremely drained creatively.
If I want to add, I would say, I don't want to use that word, but I would say it sometimes feels so suffocated.
Exactly.
You can't speak your mind because you were like, not that at that position. But yeah, I totally understand what.
Came up with a decision to like start my own design practice, not focusing strictly on architecture and sort of broadening the creative scope. I wanted that space to feel like the things that I find important with architecture and all the things I find important with design, the designs that I want to see in the world. And it's also been a space for my friends and I to also like collaborate with and talk about how does this make sense? Like, how do you think this works on like a larger scale? Like, what about the context of this? Like, we can have broader discussions that makes the design feel so much more meaningful and so much more impactful. And then that translates into the practice is probably the wrong word. It's more of a design studio because there's.
I would see so many questions coming with that. Do you want to define like your routine, like a day in the night,
Yeah.
like as a young studio owner?
Yeah, so a lot of it is management, unfortunately. Although, like I just said, like there's lots of like studio talks with my friends and stuff, or the collaborators. I call them collaborators. The day in the life is waking up, answering emails, reaching out to for more clients of people I reach out to, and because the design scope is so broad, I'm reaching out to like fashion designers. I'm reaching out to small brands if they want to do installation. I'm reaching out to like companies that do exhibitions. So there's a lot of outreach that goes into, and in the afternoons, that's in the morning, and in the afternoons, it's usually when I do my creative thinking and my creative design work. My collaborators have other jobs too. So we have like Zoom meetings, we have team meetings. There's a lot of research that goes into it as well. Find inspiration wherever you can. Going to the museum, reading a book. Like I try to take it easy and my creative juices flowing. And then I start working on the projects that I have for clients. So I'm doing interior design for a client.
Like how many people are there in your studio? Like some collaborators who are working part time?
Everyone is part-time. Like no one is working full-time because yeah, I collaborate with my friends. Like those are the collaborators I work with.
Everybody who's starting a new firm has that one question. How would I get that one client?
Yes, that's true. My very first client was actually a family friend. It's gonna have to be word of mouth, and asking people in your network and asking people in your circle. And the hardest thing I found for me was having the confidence to even put myself out there. Actually, the hardest part.
Come to New York and do your master's in Parsons.
So I did my undergrad at the Macintosh School of Architecture in Scotland. Yeah, I love that university. It was an art school. It wasn't super technical, but it wasn't super like creative either. It was like a weird middle ground. I just really loved the art school environment and like the cross collaboration between different disciplines. So then when I was applying for my master's, I knew I really wanted to go to an art school, and I heard about Parsons. I think it's a very famous school. But it was the best choice, and I'm so happy I chose Parsons. We're so knowledgeable, and everyone had like a really beautiful scope on not just architecture, but how it applies to the real world, the practical world, or different facets of the world, like social justice. I didn't even know about social justice and design until I got to Parsons. And that's kind of what I was missing in undergrad, or the industry itself was it sort of trains you to be complicit in bad design, or designs that you feel like they don't actually impact people's lives, or they're not meaningful. And I like, yeah, so in undergrad I felt very confused, and I almost didn't like want to pursue architecture fully. I just went along with it, hoping that things would get better and I'd find clarity at some point. And I found it at Parsons. Like, it gave me the foundation and understanding that architecture isn't just about buildings. It's so much more than that. It's about history. It can be about justice. It can be about people's lived experiences. It can be about the community. There's so many different facets to architecture. It's just a tool essentially. And that's where I was inspired, and I learned that at Parsons, especially as a Black woman. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about that school.
How I chose Parsons, like doing masters in US, my university back in India was very technical. No doubt, it was very good and everything. But then in 2016, when I was in my undergrad, I did a summer program from Harvard. And then, oh my
Okay.
God, it totally changed my perspective how they teach architecture over here. It was different, like this different learning curve thing. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I didn't know this field like they are teaching it. Do you want to talk about your thesis or any project from Parsons, which you think it's like, what softwares did you use in that?
So my favorite project from Parsons, like, obviously was my thesis, I think. So my thesis was called Designing Black Diasporic Memory. And it was sort of I was using it as a way to question architecture's role in marginalizing people, or causing or displacing communities. It's sort of negative, using architecture, or viewing it through the lens of a tool for social change. And so the case study I used, or the site that I used, was Seneca Village, which is in New York. And it's in Central Park. It's a historically Black community from the 1860s, and it was destroyed due to eminent domain, which is like a common architecture design practice. So when I first learned about Seneca Village, and the fact that architecture and design had a role to play in its demise, and the marginalization and displacement of all these people, I started to question, well, if architecture destroyed it, can it heal it? Can it rebuild it? What can architecture do? Like, really, how far can it go? I started exploring different modes of recounting history, trying to tell a story through architectural drawings, and just trying to push the boundaries of architecture as I understood it. And then I ended up creating a series of ghost structures. I called them the sort of reflective. There are buildings with reflective facades, and the reflection was supposed to center the user in Central Park. And then the reflections also had lenticular frames, which are basically, the lenticular frame is when you look on one side and it's one picture, and the other side that's another picture. So half of the frame was a reflective material, and the other half was supposed to be the memory of Seneca Village, so like a scene from Seneca Village. So yeah, the users would walk around Central Park unknowingly, see a ghost structure, and they could sort of center themselves in the history of Seneca Village. So they're confronted with the fact that most people don't know the story, that people, like Black people, live there. They had children, they had houses, they had schools, there was a cemetery, there was a church. Like, people were living their lives in that space, and they had their own history, their own memories, their own culture that was essentially, quite literally buried. Yeah, it was sort of a philosophical thesis, but with a physical actualization, because it is architecture.
I remember your drawings and things, and I
Yeah.
when you were talking about the reflective ones, I just got the memory of how you presented it.
The collages, yeah.
Yeah.
I use Photoshop, like the programs I use for that. Mainly Photoshop. And then for the actual structures, I used SketchUp because to be honest, like I wasn't trying to be super technical with my drawings or super intense. I mean, I already have those skills. I already know how to use them. And to me, the focus was on the history and the retelling through architecture. Yeah, so I use SketchUp, and SketchUp is like my go-to. It's one of my favorite softwares to use. It's so easy, it's simple, it's great to get like your ideas out. It has a really easy interface to use. I think it's
No, no, no. I love
oh,
SketchUp.
oh yeah, yeah. It's chef's kiss. Like those SketchUp people, they know what they're doing. Yeah, so that project was it,
Thesis project was interesting. I remember the collages, and everybody was so impressed with the collages.
collages are everyone uses collages. We all kind of had like a collage.
Nice way to like understand and get started. Sometimes you feel like what to do, like how to start, and when you have like everything in the collage,
It's a good concept, an ideation like tool to use essentially. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
where did you work? Like how many years did you get your experience?
Okay. Okay, yeah. I work for this design company. It's a small design studio called Ray Cura. They actually had an office in LA, and I was just doing remote work. And I was not paid a lot, obviously. Like you don't get paid that much, especially as an international student. I was also yeah, I don't think it was commensurate to the amount of work that you put in. I know that in architecture there's a culture of overworking. You're not supposed to complain about it. It's just what you do. And I don't really appreciate that culture. I don't think it's healthy. I remember a friend of mine was working for a firm, and they had like half days on Friday, but you had to work until like 7 on the other days
I know
or
that.
something. Compensating for that time. It's not a half day on Friday. I'd rather just work the full day on Friday and not have to like spend more time at work like
It
on the
generally
other days.
happens in
I just
summer
think it's
because you have summer Fridays.
yeah, summer Friday. That's what they called it. Yeah, it's a corporate capitalist myth. Don't pretend like that. This is not a special treat for your employees. We're all kind of aware that this is the culture, but everyone's like too afraid to complain about it. It feels, and yeah, but about the compensation, we're not compensated effectively, or appropriately. I think it's only getting worse as well. I think especially new grad, you kind of expected to just love the work enough to overlook that, but it's not fair. I think they should make it a lot more streamlined and a lot more effective. And you know, present it in a way that doesn't promote burnout. I mean, I don't think you even get a break from burnout in architecture. You're in school, you're working on your projects till like damn near 5 in the morning, and you have a crit at like 8 or 9. There's creative burnout, and then there's like physical burnout and mental burnout, and you experience every single one of those throughout your architecture career. And I don't think that's healthy, and I think we need to have more conversations about that. It's not good for
At the
anyone.
end, we are also underpaid.
And then you're underpaid.
One like interesting question: how many like sleepless nights doing your master do you have any, or did you?
I didn't sleep. I was not sleeping. I slept, and then I'd go to sleep, and then I'd wake up at like maybe like 6 or 7, and then work until I had to go to class the next day. Like it was an unhealthy. It was very unhealthy. I think partly like the reason it was so extreme is my personality. Like that was a little bit on me, or a lot on me.
Yeah, and what are the projects you're working? Are they like basically interior focused or architecture? And also like with the software you're using, how is AI has been like a part of it or not? Like what's your take on it?
AI it's so controversial right now, and I have so many opinions on it. But I'll talk about the projects I'm working on first. So I'm working on a project right now with this women's organization. They're helping women who've experienced gender-based violence. And this is a very important project to me because it's more of like a theoretical project, architecture and design as part of the healing process for the survivors of gender-based violence. And so the project is about transformative justice, which is like an alternative mode of justice to like the the traditional justice system, or corporal punishment or anything like that. It's sort of so I know that doesn't sound like architecture. You're like, where do we come in? Where does design come in? So we kind of proposed imagining what this transformative justice space would look like. And part of the imagining process became a really important part of the healing process for the survivors. And so we've been doing a very interesting, like, orthographic study, and interviewing survivors to get to know how they would view this space or how they want to see this space. And it's been sort of like the inverse of what I was taught about architecture, because you have a site, you know where your site is, and then you build upon that site, you discover the context and you do research about that. But we're sort of doing research about a theoretical space that doesn't exist. It exists in the survivor's mind. So then you do site analysis based off of this theoretical space. How a lot of design is theory, really. Like a lot of our design practice is theorizing space, or like imagining what the future, like projecting into the future and also looking into the past at the same time, and sort of converging those two in the present for a physical space, like even healing and transformative for me. And so that process, we have been, obviously we've been sketching, we've been making collages. We try to encourage the survivors to like make collages, give us inspiration of things that they know or things that they want to see in the space. And there's this Mies van der Rohe quote that I tell everyone, like it's my favorite quote ever, because I think it gives such an interesting perspective on architecture and architects. It's architecture is the will of the epoch translated into space. So like the epoch is like the era or like the people or the community translated into space. So then we as architects are essentially translators. That gives us, we don't give our own opinion. We simply listen and we translate that into a physical space. And so that has been so salient during that project, where I feel like in order to be a good translator, you have to listen and you have to hear and you have to understand. It's just, yeah, it's been so much fun. I've been working on it with a friend as well, like again, a collaborative project. And so at the end, what we intend to do, like our final product, is we are going to make like 3D models of this space, this theoretical space, and then the organization is going to use it in their proposal about transformative justice to give to the federal government, so that they can actually create the space, and then hopefully it'll be actualized in real life.
It sounds so interesting, and you can't like think of architecture in this way, but it's such a new perspective.
Yeah,
a new direction, and I can know how excited you would be doing that, like knowing you.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to my interests in design and design justice and social justice as a Black woman as well. And being a Black architect specifically, or designer, like seeing things through a social justice lens is inherent, at least for me.
I want to see like the final products.
Yeah,
same. Yeah, the space and everything.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of storytelling in this, like
exactly.
Yeah.
Parsons really told me that architecture is far beyond just four walls. It's so much more than that.
It's not typical elevation section plans. It's architecture is beyond that.
It's beyond that. It goes out of the 3 dimensions into the 4. I'll quickly say something about AI.
Yeah, of course. I was coming on that also. So just to so for this also you would be going for SketchUp and basic planning.
Yeah.
What do you use for 2D? Like, are you CAD person or?
I am a sketching girl. And like, so I like using, like, I like hand drawing and sketching, and then I use CAD to to visualize it. And then I move from CAD to, well, what I use now is 3ds Max. Because I think it's a lot better for visualization as well. Like for my other projects, for my design projects, like interior design, and interior architecture, I use 3ds Max because I find it easier to, not easier, it's more comprehensive in modeling than SketchUp.
I think it is complicated and time consuming in regards getting the rendering. That's what my experience says. Yeah, I use SketchUp and then I use another software for it. But
3ds Max has been like my kind of go-to for visualizations, like really nice detailed ones. And it also helps me like create furniture if I need to. SketchUp is obviously like the industry standard. It's that's our girl. Like that's our favorite software. But yeah, for this project, I think eventually we'll do 3ds Max to when we're actually rendering the space. Um but yeah, like it depends. I've tried all the softwares, honestly, because I was just curious and I want to find the most effective
I
one.
think everybody tries every software and they have their
Yeah.
three picks and then they're sorted.
And then, like I said, I really do like sketching. There's something so intuitive about it, and I think it also makes you a better designer, because it forces you to use your imagination, which is partly in turn why I don't like AI, because I feel like I feel like the use of it as a tool will generate some sort of like creative atrophy in your abilities to design. Like you'll lose those skills if you don't use them, essentially. It's the same thing with AI, people using it to write essays, or to even understand text. Like you're going to lose your ability to think critically. So I don't want to lose that muscle. I don't want to lose that creative skill, or intellectual skill. So I try to avoid it as much as I can. I mean, I don't use it day to day. And it's sort of like a silent protest, I guess, I'm giving to AI, and that's just my professional opinion on it. Then I also have ethical opinions on it, and intensely they're using it because some people use it just to like do their whole project for them. And then the question it begs the question: then what is your purpose here? Why would anyone hire you as a designer if you're simply just using a different design tool? And so like I think it sort of devalues our profession, and it sort of takes away from and our profession's already being devalued by people in general. Like people don't pay us effectively. So with AI, I think it just increases the risk of us, maybe that'll happen anyway, who knows, but I still think there's so much value in human creativity and human ingenuity. Like I don't think AI could have come up with participatory design as a concept like however many years ago it was created, like 30, 40 years ago. Like I think that requires human knowledge and human skills and a human understanding of human beings. And so I don't know. I have difficulty understanding it.
It's also like developing right now and we don't have the
Yeah,
liberty to do
it's
that.
true.
But I think obviously it can't take like the human like the touch that we have.
Like so and so imagine the implications of that on day-to-day life. If AI is designing a building, does it fully know the codes? And like who is checking that it knows the codes if it's just fully automated by a machine? Like I don't know. It's there's too many implications. In that sense, I don't like it the idea of it replacing people. People using it as a tool, I think. And I also really love like physical sketching by hand because I think that also forces you to use your imagination in a way that like AI can't force you to use. Like, writing a prompt that does require like a level of understanding of how to write, and that's as far as it goes. That's as deep, that's as mentally exhausting and mentally useful as it goes. Like there's no process there. And so, yeah.
Add on, if you want to try sketching, I think you used iPad, but you can try using Morpholio. I don't know if you have started like iPad sketching. Like other than Procreate, Morpholio is also a good app.
Option.
It's
Okay. Yeah. I usually use Procreate for
try using Morpholio. It's also nice and thanks for doing this. And I'm so curious to know about your studio and how does that go.
Thanks for watching and see you in the next